you know that do not be afraid, or some phrase close to that, is in the Bible, depending on which version you read, at least 365 times. Do you think this is a significant topic? If you look at your life, do you consider yourself to be a fearful person? Do you live kind of in that land of negativity that is always looking for the next shoe to drop? Or, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Or in the constant state of worry or fret? That was my grandma to the T. Can't be all bad. She lived to 99. But it was a constant when you're in her presence of, That story that Becky shared about the disciples, to me, reflects so clearly our lives. Oh my gosh, a storm is coming and the boat's getting rocky, and we scream for help. And Jesus wants to know, where is your faith? For me, the answer to where is your faith is, where is my connection with Spirit? How open is my heart? How connected am I to the Spirit of God? Because that's what creates that faith piece for me. And that part of our lives can actually be very, very weak, or can be very, very strong, or somewhere in the middle. But part of it is the connection. And Mike, I'm going to invite you back to the old cartoon, if you would. Some of you, and I'll date myself by even knowing this cartoon, there was a little dog that used to say a phrase.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
Do you remember that? Okay. Underdog. Is the Spirit of God underdog? Always here. That was his motto. Always. There was nothing that could happen that he couldn't be right there. Is that not what Jesus asks when he says to the disciples, where's your faith? What's the matter with you guys? Can't you finally get it? FDR said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because the fear lies in our brain. And there's a part of our fear that's a necessary part of what it means to be human, and a whole other part of it that is not. First, a couple of things. 2 Timothy says, and this is from the old King James, which isn't what I read on a regular basis, but listen. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear. Oh, really? God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. And 1 John says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. So let's look for a minute at fear. Fear is a part of our life. Now, that version from King James says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, except for that it has been a part of human existence since humans have existed. It's also a part of the animal world. And what it is it's our reptilian brain. And it has a built-in mechanism in it that's been there since forever to keep us safe. The reptilian brain has helped us survive as a species. It has kept us safe. My life coach, Martha Beck, calls our reptilian brain our lizard brain. So if you ever hear me talk about lizard brain, that's it. And I keep putting my hands back here because that's where it is at the back of your head. Our brain has evolved, if you will, to this wonderful way of having compassion and empathy, and over many, many, many thousands of years, this is not the only part of our brain. And it's still there. And what it does, it's there to help keep us safe. Which means, if there's a tiger around the corner, it's going to tell us to run. Okay, now how many of you have had an experience of tiger being around the corner and you've needed to run? Anybody? Some of you may have been to Africa. That might be a true story. But for most of us, on a daily basis, we don't have a tiger around the corner. And yet, this part of our brain is triggered all the time. And it's triggered to respond every time we're fearful. Every time we think, oh my gosh, my son's not going to make it through high school. What am I going to do? And we go into a response that's called flight, fight, or freeze. We either do nothing, which probably isn't good, or we run like the tiger is chasing us, or we fight. Now, you need to know that this is a natural good part of us, and that it is built into us as humans because we do need protective systems. Our problem now is that it's on too much. We, like the disciples, are living in a constant state of, oh my gosh, the storm is here and we're going to sink, we're going to die. And so this part of our brain is constantly on. Just like, you talk about the loop of a hamster wheel, and it never ever stops, and it never ever stops, and it never ever stops. You guys know that? Yeah. Fear limits our choices. When we get stuck in those patterns, when the tiger isn't after us, and we are running anyway, it limits our choices. It has us holding on so tight. We can't hear the Spirit whispering its soft voice. And therefore, we miss steps that allow us to take our best path forward. We miss focusing on what God would have us do in our lives. And so the question for today, how many of you recognize this? This is, for me, 3 pounds. Okay. You have it at the gym, maybe you have it in your bedroom. Strengthening. I would like to invite you to strengthen that muscle of connection to Spirit that helps then that lizard brain calm down. The more we strengthen the muscle that connects us to God, the muscle of courage, not fear, the more we can follow God's ways in our life. Many of us have resistances to fears, and we could talk for 3 days on that. You can make your own list when you go home this afternoon. What are you afraid of, and why won't you go to those places? That's focusing on the fear. What I want to do is give us a couple of things that come from a book on spiritual discernment that Nancy Bieber wrote on spiritual discernment and decision-making. Because often it is fear that keeps us from making decisions. Most of the time we're frozen. We don't make a decision one way or another, and then what happens? Choices are made for us. But we like to blame somebody else for it. The choices are made for us. Nancy writes about 4 parts of fear that help hold us back. Fear of not being in charge. Ooh, how many of you have that one? Yeah. Mike certainly does. Everything is up to me. I have to get it right. Fear of not being in charge. Ooh. How about fear of change? Familiar is better than unfamiliar. But change is the way the world works. Think about that. With every breath you take, folks, the world is changing. We can't avoid it. It's the way it works. But, if something's going to change, all of a sudden, we get very fearful. We also have a fear of not trusting the guide, like the disciples on the boat. Of not trusting God. Of not trusting the Spirit to tell us what's next or which way to go. It's like, have any of you done, maybe with youth, maybe with adults, a trust walk where you're blindfolded and you have to be led by others and led through a path, perhaps, of chairs scattered all over the place and climbing mountains. Some people do it inside, some people do it out. That trust walk, trusting the Spirit in your lives. We have a fear of that. We also have another fear that Nancy talks about. Is God really there? What does your heart know instead of your head? Does your head try to talk you out of the Spirit leading your life? Which muscle are you exercising? That fear muscle? Oh no, I can't go there, God. Or the muscle of courage. I'd like to invite you to pause right now. And Jen, I'm going to move a little bit, so okay. I always do this to her. Pause for a moment and take a look at fear in your own life. Perhaps there's something that you're facing right now that you're kind of just standing there, being afraid of. Perhaps if you look into your mind's eye, and you're welcome to close your eyes if you're comfortable, and just think about that fear. And see, ask it. Does it have a name? Perhaps you're thinking about a career change. Perhaps you're thinking about starting a Sunday school class. Perhaps you're thinking about making a change or talking with a friend who drains you from energy. Perhaps you just have a mean judge in your life, in your head, that makes you fearful all the time. Does it have a name? It might. Or maybe it has a shape. Maybe if you have a judge that you become fearful of, maybe it's like a big rock if you were to think about it, just literally in your way. Or perhaps your fear looks like the raging sea that the disciples experienced. You might ask fear, however it comes to you, what has it done for you? Remember, all of the parts of us are a part of us, which means they're a part of God. So they have come for a reason. Somewhere along the line, we learned to be afraid of the tiger. And there's goodness in that. So for the fear in your own life, why is it there? What has it done for you? And then, what might your life be like if you didn't have that fear? In your mind's eye, can that fear shrink? Say it's the raging sea. Can it be calmed? Say it's a big, huge rock or boulder or mountain. Can it be made smaller? Something to be not so frightened of. Just take a couple of breaths and think about that fear being made smaller. John 14 says, you already know the Spirit is within you, and the Spirit is with you. God's love has been poured into our hearts by the Spirit and has been given to us. As you think about fear in your own life, what might God be saying to you in this moment? About letting that fear go, or moving it to the side, or perhaps just making it smaller. In a moment, Mike is going to sing for you a song that comes from a movie, the movie Pearl Harbor. I invite you to hear this love song in a way of hearing that God's Spirit, like underdog, is always with you, is so ever present that that old part of your brain that causes you to freeze or run away or fight doesn't need to be on in your life all the time. That God's presence, if you exercise that muscle of connecting to Spirit, whether it's through prayer or Bible study or sitting in silence and just listening, however you might exercise it, deepens that connection to help you know that which in that moment that the disciples were on their boat, they forgot. Because Jesus had to ask them, where is your faith? So where is yours? I'm going to invite Mike to come and sing, and then I will close this.
Think back on this times and the dreams we've left behind, I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed again to have you in my life. When I look back on these days, I'll look and see your face. You were right there for me. In my only see you soar above the sky. In my heart there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am there you'll be. And everywhere I am, there you'll be. Well, you showed me how it feels to feel the sky within my reach, and I always will remember all the strength you gave to me. Your love made me make it through. Oh, I owe so much to you. You were right there for me. In my dreams I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am, there you'll be. 'Cause I always saw in you my light, my strength. And I want to thank you now for all the ways you were right there for me. You were right there for me, for always. In my dreams I'll always see you soar above the sky. In my heart there'll always be a place for you for all my life. I'll keep a part of you with me, and everywhere I am, there you'll be. And everywhere I am, there you'll be. There you'll be.
That's what God says to you. That's that connection. There. Presence. There. Always. There. Always. Always. No matter what happens, tiger or no tiger, raging storm or no raging storm, good health, bad health, money troubles, no money troubles, catastrophes galore, or unending joy, there. There. For you. Unconditionally loving promise. There. Your connection to that there is where do you build your strength? How are you building your connection to that there? For each of us, that's going to look different. For each of us, we do different things. But that there is for all of us. So find this week how you're going to strengthen that muscle. Not the muscle of fear, but the muscle of courage. I'm going to invite you again to sit quietly, close your eyes for a moment if you are comfortable, and just picture whatever your image of loving God is. Picture loving God speaking gently and tenderly these words to you. They come from Isaiah. They're ancient words, speaking through time to us. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. You are precious in my sight and honored, and I love you. Here again, God lovingly speaking gently and tenderly. And see perhaps what word or phrase speaks to you. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. You are precious in my sight and honored. And I love you. There.